Non-British people of Reddit, what do you find odd about Britain? From the US, I have never heard so many ways to insult someone. Bellend, knobhead, nonce, pedo, plampet, sp, plant plot, mardc, slag, ya donut. Also an extensive list I heard of things you'd rather do than what's been suggested. I'd rather crap in me hands and clap. I'd rather circumcise myself with a butter knife. I'd rather watch my mum give birth. I'd rather have half an inch in me mum and my dad have half an inch in me, then decide to go forwards or backwards. I'd rather crap in a bag and wrap it round me face and suffocate myself. I'd rather guide my granddad into my nan. Went to London for the first time a couple years ago. Had several people say hello with hey, you alright, which made really self-conscious until I realized it was like hey, how are you? Alright mate. Honestly the best thing I ever heard was a black mate of mine tell an American mate, don't call me African American, I'm from fricking London. Yeah, in Britain, if you're black, you're black. It's not considered offensive or blunt, it's just the word. When Brits say you wanna go for a drink, American translation, literally one drink. British meaning, 10 pints, kebab and a souvenir traffic cone. In Britain a couple always means two, unless you're going out for a couple, in which case it's possible you will not see that person again for a few days. I'm from Norway and I've lived in London for 3 years. I lost my voice last year. It was gone for a week, and it struck me how much you talk to strangers here out of politeness. People must have thought I was so rude for not saying sorry whenever I walked too close to another customer in a grocery shop that week. I've picked up the habit of saying sorry to everything. I once said sorry to a chair. You know you've gone native when you apologize to things. Replying brilliant after every comment makes me wonder if they are being sarcastic or have set a really low bar of what brilliance is. Depends on the context, but usually it's not sarcasm. We're a bit backwards with how we use certain words, to be honest. Brilliant can pretty much be as low as an acknowledgement, whereas this restaurant is alright can mean this is an excellent restaurant. The tribalism in the England alone, never mind the whole UK. Liverpool to Manchester is a 45-minute drive from each other and they have completely different accents and cultures. Over in Yorkshire it's again completely different. London is a different world. The Midlands is another whole thing. And they all appear to hate each other. As an American it's amazing to study. A lot of the hatred and rivalry isn't real hatred. Liverpool and Manchester have a long history of rivalry, which now is mainly based in sport. Then, there is the north-south divide. Southern fairies and northern monkeys. Also the Midlands don't exist, and I live in the Midlands. Saying sorry for things you shouldn't be sorry for example, me, stands in Tesco looking at frozen food. Person next to me also looking at frozen food, oh sorry. We apologize to atone for sins we may or may not have committed, like standing too close to someone, or looking at the same item. I never quite realized it till I went there, but tea is the cure-all end-all for any situation. You didn't get into the college you want? Here, have some tea. You're a little groggy? Have some tea. Your arm's been lobbed off? Let's get you some tea. Why? It's been in the culture for so long it's sort of become a comfort drink. I know people who even need a cuppa before going to sleep. Just did 2 weeks in the UK. To me, the things that seemed the oddest were actually improvements over Canadian culture. Kids and dogs can go to pubs. Cashiers at grocery stores get to sit down. Roundabouts everywhere. I still can't believe we make cashiers stand all day in the US. It's crazy. I think it's odd that your entire country is roughly the same size as the US state I live in, yet whenever I see pics of England there's all this open space, hills and country roads and wee villages that look lost in time, and you're still a major world power. A 50th of the size with a 1/6 of the people like a giant sardine can. I love the difference between American and British programming, especially kitchen nightmares. British version, oh, the lobster's off. Yeah, you can't serve it. You'll get someone sick. American version, it's spoiled. You donkey. You'll kill somebody. Shut it down. Shut it all down. Frick me. Cue dramatic music. 3 jump cuts to shocked expressions. And a commercial. A cracked writer described American reality TV as it's as if we've entered into some bizarre S&M relationship with Great Britain because of all the shows like Kitchen Nightmares with a Brit screaming at people. I'm British, but some of my American friends don't understand why my washing machine is in my kitchen, or how I drink tea that isn't iced. Admittedly, that one works in reverse as well. Brit here. I moved to the Netherlands last year and was appalled to find my washing machine is now upstairs next to the bathroom. A year on, I can't believe I lived so long with the washing machine in the kitchen like some kind of savage. Recently moved to England from the US San Diego, and have been here for about a year and a half. Some weird ones. Alright mate. Yay dude. Does it look like something's wrong? Fanny pack is not the term here. Frigid does not mean cold. My English wife still laughs at that one. I think you'll find the term is bum bag, which is arguably more hilarious. No air conditioning is pretty weird for an American. Trains at work. Massive prices in central London. Wow, you people are salty about your trains. And yeah, I know it's not hot, but it is incredibly humid. Coming from California, it felt like living under the ocean. All Europeans are of the opinion that everybody else's trains work better than their own. As a Swede, you would always listen and answer honor questions, out of politeness, such as, hello, how are you? Hello, I'm fine. Thank you for asking. And how are you? Fine as well. Well, see you later. As a Brit, you would, out of politeness, always ask how that person are, but without any need to listen to the answer and get the question back and answer too. That was shocking to me first. I mean, when you meet in two different directions and greet each other, no one would answer other than fine, thanks, and you in Sweden neither, but would not ask are you alright, would in this occasion just say hi or nod. Yeah, still couldn't give a frick how they are though. Brits can never decide if they want to use the metric system or not. You measure your weight in stone, your height in feet, and your beer in pints, but you buy your produce in grams, your petrol in liters, and switch between miles and kilometers on a whim. What gives? Okay, I get it. You don't use kilometers, but you do use centimeters, and sometimes meters. Somehow I'm even more confused than before. We also buy our fuel in liters and drive it to the gallon. Spent a couple weeks in London and Edinburgh this past winter. The biggest thing was not giving my credit card to the waiter. They bring you the machine and you swipe your crap through and it makes perfect sense, but it totally put me off my game. Also, they reply cheers to fricking everything and I'm unused to that. To clarify, I use the term swipe because I'm still unused to the insert chip terminology. Most places, US or otherwise, use the chip. Also, cheers is a great word when used in the British context. Super useful. I'd like it to catch on in other places. Cheers. Why the frick everybody drinks so goddamn much? Once I turned up at a Spoons before 9 AM trying to get some breakfast. Big line outside. Door opens and I'm the only one to get food. WTF. Not necessarily quirky in the sense that you probably meant with this question, but I find it a bit surreal that such a small island was able to have such a wide-ranging and expansive empire at their height. It sort of feels like if the residents of Rhode Island somehow found a way to conquer and govern all of the US and Canada. I'm Australian and find it weird that Christmas is a huge day for TV ratings. Series often have Christmas special that is a really big deal, and evening soap operas are big events in which soap gets the highest ratings as a big deal. Even though it is warmer here, in the evening we are usually inside and sometimes do retire to the living room. At my family events we might watch a Christmas movie or maybe something funny. We never dream of watching a soap or a TV drama. Also, the #1 song at Christmas is important. Here in Australia we couldn't care less what song is #1 on Christmas Day. As a British person, I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. The more polite we are, the more we hate you. Calling someone a C can be the most endearing term amongst friends. The passive aggressiveness. It was so nice to meet you can be an insult depending on tone. What do you think of the weather can mean stop talking to me. So when I travel in Thailand there are always these chubby girls dressed in spandex club dresses and covered in purple makeup. They're British. We export them. Pants means underwear. I made that mistake telling our tour guide that I got my pants dirty and that I needed to go change. Not caring if you have something in common. When I was in grad school, I worked with a British guy and went to school with a different British guy and was like, hey, you are the only two British guys in this area you would want to meet. When I brought it up to each of them, they both said, frick that guy. What's he doing in my American town? If I was in Britain, I would be so thrilled to meet another American. Same with people from my state or town. There's an immediate connection. Americans are extremely friendly in comparison to other cultures, like golden retrievers when it comes to interacting with strangers. The Finnish are like cats. Had an American flatmate. She was astounded by the lack of customer service from UK businesses. One particular incident was when her phone stopped working. After she finished work, she rushed into town and went to the Apple shop to get it repaired. Thing is, she arrived minutes before closing and was shocked when the staff told her she'd have to come back the next day. She came back to the flat really pissed off and said that in the States the employees would have stayed late because she was a paying customer. Instead, they said something along the lines of, sorry, love, we've got families to get home to. Mate, that last line cracked me up. So typical. I did my last year of uni in Britain. From America, the biggest difference for me was the drinking culture. I'll make a list of some highlights. Getting dressed up for the bar club. Like seriously, these girls looked like they were going to prom. The way to order drinks, singles, doubles, and the bartenders carefully measuring everything. I was used to the protocol of flash a smile at the cute bartender and who knows how much liquor might go into your drink. It might be 90% liquor, if you're lucky. I also had to learn what a pint was, and what it meant when my roommates ordered a snake bite. Also, all the student bars had crazy 3 for 2 deals on and everyone was walking around with 3 drinks trying not to spill, and I was like, why would I want to carry 3 drinks? What? I only want one, and the girl looked at me like I was stupid. I was stupid. One time we were going from a friend's flat to the bar and someone me asked if I wanted a beer for the road. I said, you can drink in public. He looked at me indignantly and replied, of course. It's a free country. Well, dang. I'd never considered that. A vodka lemonade, before I realized lemonade is akin to Sprite. I will tell you, however, that I think vodka with real lemonade sounds delicious. I also didn't know what Pimm's was and saw its dark color and asked if I could have it with Coke. They looked at me like I had 3 heads. Queuing for a bar, and even worse, paying an entrance fee. Admittedly, this is because I went to uni in a small town and such things were utterly unheard of, so that's just personal prejudice. But I ended up doing nightclub photography in the city center, and thus knew all the bouncers and got in everywhere for free. But I still stand against it on principle. The amount of bar fights I witnessed. I didn't even know this stereotype going in, so I was totally unprepared, and my jaw was on the floor the first time I saw 2 guys lunge at each other and the Hulk bouncers all but literally throwing them onto the street. Great fun. And just for good measure, let me tell you about this one club. Fiction. In the girls' bathrooms, there were curling irons and blow dryers. Sometimes, when I'm squatted in squalor in a some dingy bar bathroom elsewhere in the world, with no toilet paper and the floor is wet, I think back to the utter luxury of fiction with its plush seats and blow dryers. What a different world. What a time to be alive. I was watching Very British Problems on Netflix before, and they discussed how every day at some workplaces someone or a group of people would stop what they are doing to make tea for the office and make it however likes. That seems like a huge waste of time, and why can't people make their own tea? Now if I was there I wouldn't complain and would love having tea served to me, but just curious about this and how common this is. How's this for mind blowing? Some places used to employ a lady to make the tea. That was literally her job. We just call them apprentices now. A fuse in every plug. Separate taps for hot and cold water. No wall sockets in bathrooms. Where do you plug in your electric toothbrush, electric razor or hair dryer? British here. A lot of Americans have asked me why we keep a plastic bowl in the kitchen sink for doing the dishes. It's so that we can have clean, soapy water in the plastic basin, and other things can be poured directly down the drain without dirtying our dishwashing water. You don't want half a cup of tea or coffee going into the water you're going to wash the cup with. That Britain has invaded almost every country. Something like every country in the world except 20 countries have been invaded by Britain at some point. Das wild. I'm from Poland, and what's always baffled me about the UK is that so many popular worldwide brands have different names and logos. Axe equals Lynx, Opel equals Vauxhall, Lays equals Walkers, etc. Same principle applies to, for example, driving on the left instead of on the right side of the road, walking on escalators again on the left instead of the right, or the washing machine is usually in the kitchen instead of bathroom. You Brits are weird, but I still love you, haha. Washing machine wouldn't work in the bathroom without any electricity in there. All of their slang. Obviously, they're grocery stores. How the Queen doesn't rule the country anymore but they still have one. And how cloudy it is all the time. How thoroughly the British will go out of their way, and often to their detriment, to avoid causing a fuss. Honestly, I could cut the front of the line in any location and the worst thing that I would receive is a muttering underneath someone's breath. Yeah, we will be about it to someone we care for later though. We don't like to make scenes. Was in a pub and two guys were talking politics. They kept calling each other and the politician CNTS. I found it hilarious because of how poorly that convo would be received in the US. Not so much odd, but impressive. London's tube system. Jesus, that's the most efficient transportation system I've ever been on. Currently traveling in the UK as an American, and not tipping is the thing that's thrown me off the most. I'm a generous tipper in the US because I know how much it matters to waiters waitresses there. I ate at a nice seafood place at Dover, left a $5 for a tip on a £15 bill, and the waitress looked at me like I'd grown 2 heads. To clarify, I tipped 5 because I'm used to rounding it up to the nearest multiple of 10, and the server had been really attentive and kind, especially since I was eating alone in a relatively busy spot. I realized what I'd done after and have since dropped my tips down to a couple pounds for restaurants. I've also since had one completely awful experience where I left nothing. The host basically called me fat by saying I had ordered too much. It was a cafe and I ordered 2 scones, and then served them burnt on one side. So I left exact change and walked out. Because we pay our wait staff fair wages. So tipping isn't their livelihood, it's a way of saying thank you. They are paid to do their job. If they do something extra or very helpful they get a tip. I was raised 10% as the norm for good service. I've worked as a waitress and as a chef, and I don't tip bad service. I also won't usually tip somewhere where you order at the bar. I'm British, but one of the weirdest things is the pronunciation of some of our place names. Leicester comes to mind. Leicester? Nope. Leicester. Kirkby is another one. Near Liverpool. Pronounced Kirby. Kirby. Like the Nintendo character. Worcestershire sauce. I am a Brit, but have lived in 2 other countries and I want to share some things that I only really discovered or appreciated when I left. 1. Our pubs and pub culture are fantastic. Going for a few beers is a fun and social affair. Not trying to get a table for one drink you take an hour over to have a deep convo, though that option exists if you want. 2. We have great manners. People often joke about us saying sorry a lot, of being over polite, but we have manners towards people, especially on public transport. I'm looking at you Scandinavians. 3. We love a joke. People think everyone does, but we take it to an extreme that means you're never far away from someone telling you a joke, or reminding you that we're all just monkeys with big brains and to pipe down. 4. Food in Britain is fantastic. There is great British food, but the choice we have, and the quality, is outstanding. People will take about classic cuisine, French, Italian, Spanish, and sure, classic dishes are not the best in the world. We're similar to a lot of Northern Europeans, which has been down to climate, but it's 2019, and our supermarkets and restaurants are fantastic. You want something, anything, you'll probably find. This is not so true in other countries. Could I find halloumi in France? Could I frick? 5 beer. Now traditional British beer like ale, bitter, and stout doesn't travel very well, so it's hard to get it out of the country, but by frick is our beer great. Ale is not everyone's beer of choice. And yes, give me a 30-degree day in humid London and I'm going straight for that cold lager at 4 PM on a Friday. But as with all food and drink, it's places and time that are important. 6. The sesh. We're very good at going out and getting on it. I miss it so much. I missed it in France. My other half missed it in Italy. And frick me do we miss it in Stockholm. I have flown back to London over 20 times in 2.5 years for the purpose of going out. And just before someone jumps in with "but my country," in no way am I saying we are the best at any of these. Or is it not good anywhere else, but we are good at those things. How in the early 60s they seemingly became aware of this phenomenon known to the Yanks as rock and roll, and then immediately proceeded to do it way better than us for the next 16 or so years. Clapton and Cream, Zeppelin, the Stones, the Beatles, Pink Floyd, the Animals. You all really just put that crap in your pocket and walked off with it. Dang. I'm a Brit that no longer lives in Britain. The amount of people everywhere is always full. The amount of advertising. You can't even look at a bus without seeing 5 logos on it. It's like blank space is wasted money, so they have to fill everything. The fact that learning one word in another language makes us feel smug and like we've made an effort. The fact that learning one word in another language makes us feel smug and like we've made an effort. And here I thought this was an American thing, lol. I'm a Brit but wanna pipe in. The thing I've always found odd is that we all freaking hate each other based on a variety of factors. Geographical location is a big one. Manx hate Scousers. Glaswegians hate Edinburgh folk. Brummies hate everyone. Northerners hate Southerners, etc, etc. Politics is another big reason. Remainers versus Leavers. Pro-Indie Scots versus pro-UK. Football. Well, that's justified. Jamie Oliver. We all hate that John Hunt. The list is endless. It seems like the classiest place on earth while simultaneously being a decidedly British brand of trashy. If Reddit has taught me anything, I was once told the rest of Europe sort of views the UK like the America of Europe. This, however, was not an unbiased source of information. Europe views the UK as the UK views the US, which is how the US views Florida. I live in Midwestern America. Everyone in Britain can understand the way I speak without an issue. Doesn't always work the other way around. Maybe someone can explain why this is, but British people add an R sound in between words that end in a vowel and start with a vowel. The banana is yellow sounds like the banana is yellow. Banana. It's called the intrusive R. And yeah, it's when you're trying to say a word that ends with a vowel then another that starts with a vowel without adding a guttural stop like here in America. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.